Good morning, Sir Rick.
Good morning, Annabelle. How are we?
I am very well. It's my birthday week.
Oh, happy birthday week.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun week. I've got one getting his I got my second baby getting their wisdom teeth out. So I get to, as Greg says, you get to over mother your son for this week. So that's my birthday present. But how was your weekend? Did you have a great weekend?
Gardening mostly. It's been a quiet weekend. Time for reflection, really, because Mrs. P's been out here, there, and everywhere, and I've built this brand new meditation space out the front. It's basically a shelter.
It's amazing.
Yeah,
Did you,
and you
now,
know
did
what?
you do
I got
that?
it for a good price as well. That was the thing. We spoke a while back, didn't we, about uh, manifestation, and I'd seen this one at a ridiculous price that honestly I couldn't afford. Anyway, scouring around marketplace, an X display model comes up. As long as you're willing to go and pick it up as it is, which I did, got it all into the back of my tiny little car, and then it's all gone from there. And so now when I've sat out there with my cup of tea, we're just adding lights to it. There's plans to paint it. There's plans to put some crystals in there. And there's just this mad enthusiasm now that I can go and sit out there. And once I'm going to put some glazing into it as well, so that I can sit out there in all weathers.
Mhm.
So I'm just really, really excited about it, to be honest.
It is your garden. Those of you who are not personally connected with Rick, his garden is absolutely lovely. It is lovely, and he's done all of it himself. We have a huge piece of property here, and it's a lot to take care of. Sometimes I wish it was a lot smaller because we could get some finer details, but Rick's got you have chickens, right?
Yeah.
You have chickens. They're so cute. And the greenhouse, he built a greenhouse for Mrs. P, which is fantastic. I'm jealous all day long. I want a greenhouse. But I think any day that we get to spend out in the wild, I don't want to say in nature, but out in the wild, I think is a good day. But Monday, here we are, the start of a new week and the start of a new thing. We've got 7 people watching. Good morning, everybody. Thanks
Morning,
for being
everybody.
here. Make sure you hit the like button for us and make sure you share this. Um, just a little bit of housekeeping. So we finished up our 6 weeks. Good morning, TD. We finished up our 6 weeks a couple of weeks ago, and then we took a little bit of time off. We had some family stuff that was going on. And Rick was in Stonehenge. Did we talk about Stonehenge last week? We did.
We did last week,
We did?
yeah.
Okay. I'm still waking up with my coffee. So we talked about doing a new curriculum. And so I have a scaffolding curriculum that we're gonna vibe off of. So it's called High Rise, Rise High program. So basically, what this is we are going to go through the chakras, up a building, and kind of do some repair work. And this is to just get your spirit and your body back realigned. I know Rick and I were talking about some challenges that both of us have been experiencing. I ran into a couple of brick walls with where I was going with my business. I had a high rise, rise high meeting with the fitness hutch, Paul, the other day, and got some things sorted out. I've got some other things I've got to sort out. I told you guys one of my friends is not doing well, and so we're kind of strategizing around her. So sometimes you need to just kind of sort yourself out, and I think getting into a high rise building is really cool. It's a really cool concept. You can, take the elevator, take the express elevator right to the top. In some cases, you can take the escalator if you want to go a little bit slower and look at the atrium. You can take the stairs if you really feel like mountain climbing, and you can climb up the side of the building on the scaffolding and some, climbing ropes if you really want to make it hard for yourself. So hopefully through the next few weeks, it's going to take us through the end of the summer, you guys are going to get a really good sense of the different ways that you can kind of comport yourself and get yourself back in alignment. So Rick, we're going to start out getting to our hotel, our high-rise hotel. And I asked Rick before we started, what do you do when you go on vacation and you get to the hotel? What's the first thing you do?
Drop everything, all your baggage, and just chuck that, and for me, what I meant by that, sort of in that emotional sense, is right. No expectations. I'm not having any worries, any concerns. I've done all of the hard graft to get to this. I've done the necessary prep work, all of the passports, all of the tickets, all of the things to actually get me into that space. So when I get there, well, for me, I've not flown a lot. So if I'm going on a plane anywhere, my holiday starts the instant that I step foot in that airport terminal. Once I'm on the plane, that's it, me ready. I'm ready to go.
I'm going to stop you for a second. As a psychic, one of my favorite places to go is the airport.
Oh, awesome.
I love the energy there. Because it's such a buffet of energy and emotion that you have at the airport. Like, you can be excited, you can be scared, you can be sad, you could be saying goodbye, you could be saying hello. Like, there's so many different emotions. And as an empath, as a psychic, you pick up on all that. So Rick, I love that you're an airport person too, because anytime someone goes, oh, I have to go to the airport, I have to drive my cousin to the airport, I'm like, I'll do it. I love going to the airport. I think it's awesome.
Do you know what, though? The strange thing is, now you've mentioned that, I've never actually been to an airport as a psychic, not actually knowing this. So the next time I actually go, assuming that it ever comes into play again, because we can't leave the chickens for too long, is that I'm going to experience that and leave myself open to experience all of that energy. Because when I've gone before, it's just that excitement of going on this journey. And I think this is what's going to happen with us as we work through this curriculum, is the excitement and building back on things that have maybe just gone by the wayside a little bit. Not saying got wasted or anything like that, but just building up that enthusiasm again. Because when all's said and done, and I will explain before we get into this why I put this particular background in. Right, one of the things that I never actually owned one of these that I've got in the background there, but what it is it shows you pictures. So you click that black button on the side, and then it's like a film reel that goes around there. One of the things that I looked at was the film Fantasia when it first came out, with all of the bright, vibrant colours. And then I started to realise, right, our life's like that. It can go from that vibrant colour, and on the very next click, it can go to that next picture. So all of what we aim to do, I think I can speak for us both here, is to show you that life happens through the lens that you view it through. So the idea behind this is to promote thought. And as we get in and through the chakras, I'm not going to sit here by any means and lecture on what the chakra system is, because I've got a very base rate knowledge of it. But I have a different lens for viewing it through. So there'll be some things there that you guys out there that have got experience, and that you're the healers and things like that will go, it's not the way I was taught. Right. Remember, with all of my work, this is based on just whatever goes through my divvy head at the time. And if I can find a way to communicate with people, I will jog alongside whatever is needed. So just remember, it's just my lens I'm looking through.
Yeah, for sure. I love that you're using the viewfinder, though. Did you call it the viewfinder in England?
I didn't, but you've just helped me, because I'd forgotten in my haste with it. I couldn't remember. So yeah.
I had the Fantasia one as well, and I also had the Brady Bunch Goes to the Grand Canyon.
Right.
Which was awesome, and I think I still have it someplace in my mother's house. It's probably buried in something. So, but all right. So real quick, what we'll do is we're going to go through the chakra system, very high level. All right. So, chakra system, we have the root chakra, which is at the base of your spine. Some people say that the perineal area is really where it is. So that is usually colored red. We'll go through the colors because I do think that people like to visualize these. When you do your meditations with visualization, you should be seeing these colors. That's how we balance them. We kind of infuse the colors into them. So the root chakra is red. The sacral chakra, which is just slightly about, it's about your navel, like either upper, above, slightly above, slightly below. Sacral is orange. Solar plexus, right in the apex of your rib cage, is yellow. We have the heart chakra, which is green. It's not red. It's not red. Green. We have our throat chakra, which is blue. We have our third eye, which is purple. And then the crown chakra up here is white. We're also going to talk later on. I think we'll do these both in a final episode. The 8th energy center and the 9th energy center, the gold chakra and the platinum chakra, respectively. So yes, we'll talk about those later. But it's really important to know those seven chakras that you have. So, all right. We're a jumbled mess. Let's admit it. Everybody, on a perfect day, my perfect day would be, I would get up, I would make breakfast for my family, I would put a load of laundry in, empty the dishwasher, sweep up a little bit, and then get everybody sorted out with what they have to do, and then come down here and start doing my spiritual work, seeing clients, making videos, those kinds of things. How many days a week do you think that happens for me, Rick? Yeah.
I would say that the family side of it always drags or eats into, because that's the 3D life that we're living. Right?
Yeah.
We probably have this idea that the utopian version where, it's like what was the film Snow White, where all the little birds come down and fold all of the napkins and the little bunnies come out. But I don't know about you. I've got to 52 and I've not seen any of the buggers yet.
You mean your chickens don't bring your laundry to you? Like they don't come?
They can't even be bothered to lay eggs. So I'm pretty sure they're not coming in the house and
So for me, that basically happens 0, which is so hard for me, because I remember when I was in college, I would get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd go surf. I'd skateboard down to the beach. I'd go surf for a little bit. Even if it was flat, I'd just go for a nice paddle, just kind of get out there and do things. Come back, take my dog for a walk. I'd sweep up my house, and I'd dance around and sing with my buddy Rob Akampora, who was on the radio. I'd dance around my apartment, sweep up, and then I would go about my business. It was a much easier life. I just had an epiphany that it was not easier then, because I didn't have a family. I didn't have, 3 extra cats. I didn't have all this extra stuff. It was because my expectation was that was what my day was going to be. When I went to sleep at night, that was my expectation. I was like, I'm going surfing in the morning. I'm going out there. I'm going to do what I have to do. So when we are traveling through life, I want you to think about it as traveling on a train or an airplane or a tractor trailer or whatever it is, whatever your conveyance is in this life. Some of us might be pedaling down the street on a velocipede. Some of us might be steaming down the road on a motorcycle. You're going to be travel worn a little bit. And that's where this rise high kicks in. We arrive at our place of destination for a time. So this is our hotel. This is our chakra hotel that we're going to get into. We get into the lobby and we look for our concierge. We're going to hand off all of those bags. So Rick said he wants to dump everything when he gets into the lobby. Yes, please do. Because an empty vessel is one that we can fill much, much better. We can put all of the good stuff in there. So, imagine you have a cup of coffee and a cup of tea. Okay. They're both half empty. You're not going to mix them, right? They're both getting kind of cold. You're going to dump them out and you'll decide whether you're going to have a fresh cup of coffee or a fresh cup of tea. So we don't want to start mixing that. So when we get into the lobby, and the lobby is ground zero, it's not our first chakra. We're going to get to the first chakra next week. We're going to get to that root one next week. So we're going to get into the lobby and we're going to empty everything out. So Rick, how do you, and to be sure, Rick, are you going to offer a class in this? Are you going to do like like Rick will do private sessions with this. So how do you really empty yourself and kind of get back to square one, get back to that, I know that in the Matrix, they call it the construct, where everything goes away and it's just that white room. How do you get yourself there? What do you do to make that happen?
Well, part and parcel of life, and like you were saying there, what we think and what happens, sometimes there's a gap. So it's finding out what is our actual reality. So when I sit with any clients or anybody there, I want to know what their storyline is, how they've constructed that particular moment. And all I ask them to do is to just step out of that energy for a while and observe it. So when I did my NLP training, what we're actually looking at it's a process called disassociation. So you need to imagine yourself, or use that wonderful senses that we've got to I don't know how you would do it individually, but it's whatever your strongest sense is. It's some words. It's whether you imagine it, whether you construct it visually, whether you write it down, whatever it is that you do. But essentially, imagine that you're on this. You're looking at yourself on this screen, right? You're not actively getting involved in it, but you can view how your life's going on. So in that moment, you're in an empty theatre, right? So you're actually just observing what's going on rather than being actively involved in it. Once you can take that step back from everything that's like blah, 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 going at you, and your lists and your expectations and your duties and all of that sort of thing, you can actually change your state of behavior. And this is what is important. It's just finding that spot. It's almost like white noise, for want of a better word. I go to this scene in Red Dwarf, where the Red Dwarf is a sci-fi program over here. Absolutely fantastic. But there's a thing where they've been involved in this situation. And then all of a sudden, towards the end, they realise that it's all just been part of this play, part of this plot. So the realisation comes in from the two main characters. Right, so what we're saying here is we're in between moments. This moment no longer exists because this didn't happen. So where I get myself is I want to be in that spot where the film stops for a moment, and before the new moment comes in where we will factually put things in place, I just want to be in that place of nothingness, focusing on that void, focusing on that vortex. So when we've spoken about going into that space where we're going with the concierge there, right, do we need to carry anything in there at all? Do we need to give them the burden or anything like that? Well, no, we don't. We can leave that outside wherever we need to be. But the focus is just being in that space where it's quiet. Now, don't get into this idea that all of a sudden I'm becoming this cross-leg guru, because if you've watched any of this with me, I'm far from any of that. But it's sometimes just booking space with your inner being. Now, I tend to like it because the design is now coming into fruition, being out in the garden there, of having that space where it's not task orientated. It's not, oh, I've got 20 minutes to do this. It's not somebody's coming in. It's not I'm running after the kids. It's not plotting and planning. It's a 20-minute space invader where we go into space and just sit there in that quiet and then just see what comes in. Don't get too worried about whether your thoughts are intrusive or putting any logical interpretation to them. Just notice them. Just imagine the part of the film, the part of the plot line that might not be relevant at the moment, but they will be later on down the line. But your task is, when you're sat in that empty spot, that vortex, that void, whatever you want to know it as, decorate it so that you feel welcome in there, and just sit and breathe. Right? We get so wrapped up in this, got to do. that we sometimes just forget to just slow the pace down, take some deep breaths, and blow them away. So, because if you're thinking and you're drumming up anxiety and nerves and all of the rest of it, well, great, do that, but blow it away as well. So, on the out breath, as you bring up all of these feelings and all of these thoughts and all of these emotions and all of this pressure, breathe. So, just commit over these next few weeks to finding time out, however long that you feel that is necessary, to just sit in the void. And that's just my interpretation.
So, sitting in the void can be very different for different meditation or learning styles too. So, Rick and I both have a touch of the ADD, so the ADHD. So, one of the things that happens for us is that we have racing thoughts. We have incredibly creative minds. So you'll have lots of stuff jump in there. So as a fiction writer, for me, one of the things that happens when I meditate, I'll have other storylines come into my head. So what do? Stop the meditation and write it down? No, that's not what I do. One of the things that I do is I see a giant broom that comes across like a dust broom, and it just, if something pops up into my internal vision, I see this big broom kind of sweep it away. The idea of you going into the theater, I love that. Did you ever see the movie Stir of Echoes?
No.
So Stir of Echoes was a thriller that came out the same time as The Sixth Sense, and Kevin Bacon's in it. It's actually really, really good. Ileana Douglas is in it too, and she is a newly minted hypnotist, and he doesn't believe, he's like kind of a dude up in Boston, and he doesn't believe it, and she hypnotizes him at a party, and he starts to see dead people. It was one of the reasons why the movie didn't take off, because the Bruce Willis movie went bananas. But that was her visualization for him. You see yourself in a theater, you're all alone. And so all of a sudden, all the people disappeared. And then on the screen of the movie theater, he saw sleep. So that is a visualization that you can create for yourself. You could be in an empty stadium and have, or you could be in a stadium with a bunch of people and have the people disappear. You can have, music playing. You can have sound bowls, anything like that. What you want to do is focus your energy on a point of light or a point of reference. Anybody who's ever had a baby and did Lamaze classes, they tell you to focus on one thing in the distance, focus on an object, focus on a clock. What we need to do is to make everything go away. So Rick's meditation, being in the theater, is one way. People are familiar with the scene from The Matrix when they're in the construct and he's with Trinity, Neo's with Trinity, and all of the armory comes into field. Do it in reverse. Have everything in there and start subtracting. So say you're sitting in your room, subtract the lighting, subtract the couch, subtract the walls. All of a sudden you're now in a construct, a basic construct that's empty. And if anything comes in, you can just push it out with your hand. Push it out with your hand. You can blow it away with your breath. You can do all sorts of things. There's going to be a way that you find the world melting away for you. And this is what we're going to do in the lobby of our hotel chakra. We're going to get rid of everything. So, if you have a dentist appointment later in the day, if you have, you have to reschedule your haircut because you have a conflict, you're going to put that away. You're not going to think about it. So every time your hairdresser, comes bobbing into your vision, you're just going to blow them away, or push her away, or broom her away, whatever you have to do. So the broom, blowing them away with your breath, really helps. That is a really helpful one. The theater, the Matrix, just kind of subtracting everything. All of these things are going to help you really get to that center. I personally love the Dr. Joe Dispenza, what he does is he has you basically, through breathing and just calming your body part by part, he has you find a point of energy behind your solar plexus, and he has you reduce yourself to that, and then you're in space. You'll see on a lot of my backgrounds, I have space. I am like a big fan of space. I like space. It's one of the ways that I can find myself in all of that limitless, and then you become part of it, which is really wild. If you've never done a Dr. Joe Dispenza meditation, you can get plenty of them on YouTube. But this is what we're talking about when we're talking about dropping your bags with the concierge and kind of emptying everything out. If we're gonna go through the high rise, we can't go with a lot of bags. We can't be humping up the stairs with, a backpack and 27 bags. And, my daughter, I just found out my daughter is just like me. She went and stayed at my mom's for a couple of days just to visit with her grandparents. And she went with like 4 bags for 2 nights. I was like, I said, why don't we just give you one big bag? And she was like, no, because this is this and this is, I'm like, all right, whatever. But getting to that point of emptiness. We're not just dropping physical bags, we're dropping all of our stuff. We're going to quiet the mind. It takes some practice. So, I think our takeaway for this week, our call to action for you guys, is to try and do that meditation where you feel yourself disappearing. I know Echoes of Clarity was saying, when she or he gets stressed out. Let me scroll back up. And I just want to find it. So, she was saying or he or she is saying, that's what I feel like when I'm outside my body watching myself do stuff. So, yes, like what we want to do through all the chakra organization is you're actually going to be in yourself, sorted out, but you can step out at will. And calm down at will. That was kind of a far jump. That was a far bridge that I just made. But feeling the relief of not having our cares and our worries is one thing, but we can also kind of get rid of that body, which is really wild. But I think for this week, everybody should give that a shot. So I would say a few breaths. You don't have to go into like a 3-hour meditation or anything like that. Few breaths and just find that center. Find the place where you don't see anything anymore. Take 5 minutes. It takes practice. This is just like yoga. It takes practice. You have to get used to it. You have to get better at it. You can't run a marathon on the first day you start training to run. You have to run just a little bit. So, give that a shot. 5 breaths in, find the center where you become nothing but energy. Again, like behind that solar plexus, behind your rib cage, just find that center and then imagine whatever you need that's going to work for you. So the theater, the construct in the matrix, you could be in the middle of the ocean. Some people might want to be in the middle of the ocean, in the middle of space like me, and just sit there for a minute. You're always in Echoes. This is really important for you to know. You're always going to come back to your body. Well, there's going to be one time that you don't come back to your body, but you'll be going to another body. But you're always going to come back to your body. If you are having anxiety about that, you can always tether yourself with like a golden umbilical cord from your body to your little energy space. But really, we want to kind of let go of that. Eventually, you'll be able to get rid of that umbilical cord. You'll always come back to your body. Don't be afraid of that. So, Rick, I am like way too chatty today for someone who's only had a half a cup of tea. So I'm going to hand it over to you.
One of the things that I would add to that, because and this is what I want to keep stressing about this, right? I love doing this work, but I'm one of the worst for overanalyzing and overthinking and strategizing and things like that. So when I go out and I strive for that quiet, I find it quite difficult. So it's learning to find the balance between searching for it and actually sitting there and just being in it. So it's almost like the command is focus on the power of nothing. But if you start analyzing that thought process, that can get you thinking about why would we say those words. But if you just sit there and anything that comes in that is of relevance or of structure is not nothing, it's something. So what we just want is life just bobbing along. So how I do this is just my way of doing it. It's not anything that I've seen on the internet. I mentioned it on one of our previous outings that I call it dustbin meditation. Right. So the dustbin meditation version is for your over analytical thinker. And this is me, is that I know I've got 1,001 different things in my head that I would like to achieve. Right. Somewhere in there, there's also some strategies to actually make them happen. There's also a lot of crap in there that will not see the light of day, but it's all present. Right, that is my reality. So to answer their echoes of clarity, just to pick up on a point there, when you detach, when you're stressed, that is kind of like running away, right? Because you don't want to feel the feelings that are going on around you. So my thing would be kind of like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, where she stamps her feet. There's no place like home before I make that journey into the place. And my preparation for going into the room or going into the energy wherever I'm going is the dustbin with all of my thoughts, all of the things that I've got to do, all of the duties that I have to perform, all of my responsibilities. I'm going to commit to, let's say for somebody who's like me that struggles to sit down for any like length of time without something to do, I'm going to say to my guides, my inspirers, my spiritual team, whatever you want to know it as, 15 minutes, right? And in that 15 minutes, this is all for me, right? I don't want to be thinking or analysing anything or strategizing for anything that I've got to do past these 15 minutes. So I leave them in the dustbin, right? Because I know in my reality that as soon as I've finished that 15 minutes, and we spoke about this off camera, when I do a reading, I'm already thinking about where the next reading is coming from, where the next pound coin's coming from, where the and I can soon get lost in that. So what I do is I pump the brakes. So for 15 minutes that I've committed to, all I want to focus on is my breathing. All I want to focus on is the power of nothingness. Now, when you sit down there having an over-analytical brain, when somebody said to me, well, when you go into a space of meditation, switch your mind off, I went, you've obviously never had a walk in my head. I said, so my reality is that I'm still going to be thinking, even though I've told you a strategy for putting those things in. However, and this is the key for the overthinker, right? I will still think the thoughts, but what is key to this is not putting any attachment to the thoughts. So as it comes in, right? No, because if you're not nothing, you're something. Mm-hmm. Something not allowed in my nightclub. Are you a nothing? Right. Are you a nothing? No, you're a something. Right. Sorry. 15 minutes. Come back in 15 minutes by all means. And then what you do is you get into that 15 minutes is just notice your breathing. Your mind will try and interrupt you. It will, because if you say, I'm 52, so for 52 years, I've thought in this same way, I can't suddenly expect to become knowledgeable and centered and a guru overnight. I've got to put different strategies in there. But this is the place not to think. So I'm just going with the flow. So instead of being a doing, I am being in that moment. And anybody who knocks on the door, whether it's phones, don't want to know. Because if you're not a nothing, you're a something, and you're not allowed in with me. It's only for 15 minutes. So that, listening to the dogs barking and all of that in the background, just make it part of your world for that moment. Once you've got to the end of the 15 minutes, I always stay in that place of gratitude. And I imagine having another bin at the side of me. And in that bin is anything that comes through from the spiritual world, anything that's a benefit. But key for it is how it benefits me, right? All I want in there is good stuff. Now, I'm not going to dissect it or take it to pieces. I'm just going to acknowledge it, right? And then when I go out there and I pick up all of my other crap in the other bin, I may well have a time where I take another 15 minutes out and go back to the bin in the room where I've been sat and fish that out, because there's my feel good, there's my upliftment. But remember, if you're not a something, if you're a something, you're not a nothing. And what we're looking for is nothingness. We don't want any strategies. We don't want any thoughts. We just want to be. So the key to finding that inner peace for me is to just still, just even if it's a brief second. It's not quieting for me. It's wrong wording, because it's never going to happen. And I know that never is also a restrictive word, but I know me. I know what I'm like.
It's more of a dampening, that's how I think of it. Hey, Rick, can you hear that alarm going off? Is it coming through?
No.
Okay, good. All right. We just had a power surge, and Greg's computer is making a horrible whining noise. So, but
I thought that was just me talking.
Never. I didn't want it to come through on the recording, so I didn't want it to be annoying. I didn't know if I should mute myself or not. But no, I love that you have not only a concierge, but you have a bouncer who's checking your VIP credentials, which is great. But now I have a question. Because you're a trained hypnotherapist. So what advice do you have? Like, I have the big broom. Like, what if people really, what's the best way for them to start to meditate and really get to that place of calm? And like, how do you do that as a hypnotherapist?
Because for me, all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. And I want to make this very clear from the start. I did hypnosis, analytical hypnotherapy, for my benefit, right? I never set out at any point to want to treat clients or help people like deal with weight loss problems or anything like that. I did it because I wanted to, again, to get underneath the skin of something and work out a strategy. How it's worked for me when I sat, because the first person I ever hypnotized, I'm going to be perfectly truthful here, I did it by accident, right? I was just sat talking to him. And the key to bringing in relaxation for people is to slow your voice intonation down, drop that energy down to a certain level, and you work in amongst their storyline. So my way of dealing with hypnosis with things is to imagine that we're going on a journey, which is what me and Annabelle are setting up now. Now, part of that journey for me is I might get distracted part way through because the phone might ring or something might go off.
The computer starts whining.
Yeah. So to keep my focus, I want a reward, because I find it very difficult to sit there and, arms crossed, legs crossed, relaxation, don't think, all of the stuff that I've just given you. Well, I find that incredibly difficult. I'm just like this bottle of pop that's always ready to go off. So I need a reward, like the child that if you say to him, right, sit there for a minute and I'll go and get you. Right, I need that in my childish mind. So I imagine that if I'm going to do some work and I'm going into that deeper space where I want relaxation, I want somebody to let me know that I'm doing okay. So this is just my way of doing it. You make your own adaptations and alterations as you see fit. As I imagine having a garden, right? And my imaginary skills have took some working on over the years, because I don't actually visualize. We've touched on this, that people see, sense, feel more action-based, whether you're a writer, you've got your own way of perceiving things. Now, in my mind's eye, I can see a bench, right? And I've constructed that bench, so I know it's solid, right? And then I want to have something in the background. So this is my safe space. So this again brings in the person who was asking before about stepping outside the body. Right. In there is that if anything stresses or overwhelms me or comes at me where I'm not comfortable, this is secure, right? Nobody but me and or invited guests can get in there, because we've got top security running the show round there. So in there, I've got my garden, right? And in there, there's flowers of every colour. There's all of the outbuildings that I need, all of the lovely things that I've experienced while I've been out doing the garden. It's a safe space. It's a haven. There's nothing going to come in there that's going to harm or upset me, or even take me on a meandering path to somewhere that's been negative, right? It is a lovely space. Now, on that bench, I will take a second out there, and I will say, I will call in spirit, the angels, God's guides, whatever it is that you know it as, and I will ask somebody to step in for me, right? That I know, right? That I don't suddenly want a guide or an angel coming in. I want somebody that I know that's passed to the spirit world, or somebody that I know will give me that love, that guidance, and that reward for the crap work that I'm about to do. So excuse my dogs in the background. As I say, background noise. So as you sit in that place, it's a few minutes to prep yourself and getting those deep breath moments and going, right, I've got work to do, but I'm going to reward myself before I even go in there, right? And I sit there and I call, and in my instance, it's my father-in-law, and I ask him to join me for a while. Now, my father-in-law was a very blunt and direct man, and I absolutely love him to bits. And it's one of those moments where you go, what I wouldn't give right now for 5 minutes with him to help me sort my headspace out. And then we have a chat. Whatever it is that you need to say, it's all real as long as you believe in it. Whatever it is that you need to say, right? Say what your purpose is, why you're there, why you could do with some support. Sit in that energy for a while, feel the love and the energy coming back to you. But this is where you have to get disciplined with yourself, right? So allow yourself maybe 5 minutes in that space there, sort of correcting yourself, taking some deep breaths, getting ready to make this courageous leap, and then say, right, I've got to cut this short because I've got this work to do. Now, in about 15 minutes, I'm going to be on my way back. Can you hang around for 15 minutes? Because I'd just like to drop in with you and share my story. Then I'll take myself onto the path, knowing that that area is secure, it's all safe, and everybody's there, and it's all the love and light and upliftment that I need. Then I take myself on the pathway to do the work. Once I've done the work, I lift myself back up, because the thing about hypnosis as well is taking yourself down levels. And then, of course, when you're done wherever you need to be, it's bringing yourself back up levels and bringing yourself back into your own reality. Before you check back into your own reality, remember there's a reward at the end of the shift, the workspace that you've inhabited, and there's going to be that person there. Maybe there's another one that's come in and joined you, but it's giving you that upliftment so that when you come back into your reality, we're not carrying any excess baggage. We're not carrying in any crap, because we've started doing that work. And like one of the comments that's in the feed there, we don't become an expert overnight. And then one of the counter comments there was that you're an expert in yourself. Well, yeah, exactly. But sometimes it's clearing enough of the shite out of the way in the background to actually be able to see who you truly are. It's almost like reminding yourself and giving yourself a prod to remind yourself who you truly are. How are you going to do that? Well, this is where we're in with the concierge again, and we're just going, right, those bags, I don't want them, right? Take them away, put them wherever I need, because I won't be needing them again. Because once I've learned my experience, I've thought my thoughts, I've gone through them, I've dissected them, I've took them to bits. I said this many, many times before, Annabelle, that I only want better feelings or lessons. So anything that's left that's residual or painful or uncomfortable, well, they go in my famous effort bucket. You must do your own way of managing it. And it's no good for me when I come on here that I don't want to be perceived as going, I've got all the answers, because I haven't, right? I fly by the seat of my pants mentally all of the time. So it's how you strategize, how you cope with those racing thoughts. That's just my idea. But it does work if you're like reward based, if you've got an incentive to do something. Because we sometimes just get, like, I don't know, a little bit bound down by life, you know, a little bit ground out and things like that, because there's things that we have to do. But and this is one where I do thank Facebook for this, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So find yourself a nice space before you go in and after you come out, and take the time that you need and that you deserve to be able to process however you process it.
And I think, the biggest takeaway is that there's no one way to do this. There's no one way to correct your path, correct the way you feel. I know I over the last couple of weeks, I've been very busy doing a lot of recordings, and I have basically abandoned everyone in my life. I'm not really speaking to anyone outside of my house. But sometimes we have to do that, and sometimes we have to kind of recollect ourselves. So over the next few days, I am going to be recollecting myself. Over the next week, while Angus is convalescing, I will be recollecting myself as well while focusing on him. But I think doing an inventory like this periodically through the year, I think, is important, especially like after the holidays, like after, here in the United States, we have Thanksgiving. We get nailed with Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and then January. It's like, oh, you're just kind of burned out. We have like 3 months of really, really tremendous celebrations here. And you're dealing with family, you're dealing with events at school, you're dealing with events at work. It really can get very noisy energetically. So, stopping and doing, and to be sure, once we go through this high rise, high vibe, or high rise, rise high program, it doesn't take 8 weeks to do it. You can do this over a course of days or even a course of hours if you get really good at it. But the idea is to just kind of stop and take inventory and just kind of straighten yourself up. I always liken it to when Dorothy and the lion, the scarecrow, and the Tin Man went to Oz, and they got cleaned up. Remember, they went to, oh, you can't see the Wizard of Oz like this, and they brush here, brush there. Everybody got cleaned up, and Dorothy got different hair. It's kind of like that. That's the process we want to take you through energetically. So we're gonna. I had a friend that was in recovery and had a really rough go of it. I said, well, what's going to make you feel better? He was having a tough time. And I said, what's going to make you feel better? And he goes, if I had a soul brush and I could just scrub my soul clean. And I was like, oh, I don't have a soul brush. I wish I did. So this is kind of a facsimile of that. We're going to go through like a spa process for your chakras. We're going to the chakra hotel and going through a little bit of a spa process. So I think it's going to be fun. Rick, are you excited about this?
Always. Any spiritual work, that's definitely up my alley. And now, because of course you've mentioned designing something, I need a big pot of glitter, because you've got to sprinkle some glitter and some stardust over your soul brush now. So design a brush that's got some glitter or something on there. That's your homework from me. I'm not going to hold you to it, but just think about what your design might be. How would your brush look to you? What color would it be? Where do you think that you would be best placed to put it? And no suggestions. I don't need any suggestions as to where to stick a brush. However, make it as colourful and as glitzy as you can, and we will sort of come back to this in the future. Just my thoughts there. I just went off on a tangent somewhere.
No,
Loads of glitter and glue.
Energetically, like, I have no problem with that, and I actually think people should make a soul brush. I love dry brushing. I just got into it not long ago. And I think dry brushing is really great for, stimulating the blood, stimulating the energy profiles around us anytime we do that. So maybe we should have maybe we should be designing soul brushes for everyone. I think maybe we need to go into business. So with that, I think we went to 50 minutes, Rick. I know we were going to just stay to 45 today. Do you have anything else to add?
I've not today. I'm going through sort of quite a lot emotionally at the moment, head thinking and things like that. So my thought is, I make allowances for a lot of people's different thought processes and how people act and what their belief system is, and I take them as I find them. So my advice for anybody who's looking in is treat yourself like you would want to treat how you treat others. You know, make yourself a priority over this next week. Look after your needs and wishes. And if there's things there that are frustrating you or annoying you, give yourself the same grace that you would give other people. Look after yourself, you know, take care of yourself. And some of the stuff that you can't figure out, just break it down into the smallest possible component that you can. And sometimes the answer is to just chuck it in the bin and then start again. But just be kind to yourself over this next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially here in the Northeast, we're in another heat advisory right now. So we'll be sweating over here for the rest of the week. I'm going to be kind to myself in my basement. Well, everybody, next week, we are going to be moving up to the first floor. So that's going to be our root chakra. So we're going to talk a lot about that. Basing this on the chakras really makes it much more comprehensive for you guys rather than jumping around and saying, okay, well, you need to do this. Going through the chakras like we're going up in the building is going to be very, very clear and comprehensive. Follow along with us. If you have any friends that will benefit from this, let them know and have them come on board. They can either watch the replays or they can come to the lives. This is always available in replay. And I'll be sure to put the titles in there so that everybody can follow along just as they need to. So I hope everybody has a great week. Rick, we're going to talk a little bit more after about this program and some other things. Maybe we'll bring Grumpy in so he wants to help us design our soul brushes. And for now, everybody have a great day and a great week. I hope this helps you. Call to actions again. Work on just meditating just a little bit, just to kind of drop all your luggage. That's all you have to do this week is practice dropping your luggage, dropping your meat suit, giving everything to the concierge to go to the dry cleaner. Just practice doing that 5 minutes at a time. You can do it several times a day. You can do it once a day. You can do it once in the next week, whatever suits your fancy. You may be great at it. You may be like, okay, yeah, I got this. I can dump all my stuff off and strip down naked to my energetic self and I'm totally fine. So there we go. So until next week, see you guys later.